how laser focused you have to be on the public sector to really make it a sustainable business.
Where you have sort of instances of people kind of fraudulently trying to make money from being an interpreter where they don't have the right credentials.
And welcome to SlaterPod 86. Hello, Esther.
Hey, Florian. How you doing?
I'm okay. We don't have any guests today because we had 13 guests yesterday, speakers and panelists.
It's a lot of people.
It's a lot of people. So we had 13 speakers, panelists yesterday, 300 plus turnout at SlaterCon remote. And really pleased. No hiccups. Zero hiccups. Everything worked smoothly. Even my little Synthesia demo worked smoothly. So we'll just go through some of the highlights in a second. But after that, we'll talk about LinkedIn spam. The new CEO of Apostrophe Group, the whole group. Then an AI startup called Cohere. We tried to figure out what they're all about before the podcast that raised some money. Then fake interpreters and an LSP that shuts its doors. But first, those were two challenging panels. Challenging not in terms of what they were actually on the day, but in kind of conceptually challenging panels we had yesterday about content creation in the age of AI, and then your video localization panel. But I think they really turned out exceptionally well. So maybe first, just tell us a bit, just a little bit about what you guys discussed, and then I'll talk a bit more about the content panel we had.
Yeah, sure. So, I had some fantastic guests on. We had Deluxe, Verbit, and Kudo. So Chris Reynolds from Deluxe, Tom Livney, the CEO and founder of Verbit, and Fardad, who's also been on this podcast, from Kudo. So great lineup, and they all kind of covered slightly different areas, or in some people's opinion, vastly different areas. But we kind of looked at the different aspects of video localization, similar to what we cover in the video localization report, but kind of exploring similarities and differences between speech and text outputs, as well as the live and pre-recorded settings. We looked at some of the different use cases that all those companies focus on. Talked a bit about technology as well. So yeah, a couple of my takeaways or my sort of interesting bits, I think, from the video localization panel. Well, Fardad revealed that Kudo had just launched live translated captions, so an option for live translated captions within their multilingual meetings platform, which is best known at the moment for facilitating remote simultaneous interpreting. So, I think this was interesting because on the one hand, he likened it to kind of adding live translated subtitles. He likened to having subtitles when you're watching a film or something, even if you have some kind of familiarity with the language that's being spoken. So it's all about sort of additional access, additional engagement with the audiences, and kind of illustrates the point that I think that was initially driving our concept of video localization, which is that there is a lot of crossover, not only between speech and text outputs, but also between the live and the pre-recorded settings. That was one kind of highlight for me. And then also just the general discussion, which I think actually kind of captured some of the themes that had been punctuating other parts of the conference as well, around the role of technology, specifically things like synthetic voices and AI dubbing, and the role that, potentially they will play in different parts of the video localization workflow at some point in time, as well as a bit of a reality check on the current state of some of the fully automated, for example, live translated captioning options that are out there at the moment.
Or even the synthetic dubbing thing where Chris from Deluxe said, well, there's still instances where directors would pick the voice artist, right? Or the dubbing artist. So I think we're still, who knows, maybe for the foreseeable future, there's not going to be a bunch of like automated voices dubbing, at least for kind of the high value content. Exactly. So we on our panel with the content creation panel, I think it's hard to put it in a nutshell right now. I want to move on with the program. People can actually go and rewatch the entire conference in our Vimeo on demand channel. So, but it was great. It was Konstantin from Intento, Jochen from Chorion, and Michel from E2F. Kind of went from content localization, content transformation, which is more the text to speech, speech to text, etc., and then to the whole GPT-3 discussion, which everybody agreed was a huge deal. And in fact, E2F, they're an LSP, but they're moving, or they have moved very strongly into data for AI. I mean, they're already doing kind of the humanizing thing, which I alluded to a couple of times, where, I mean, they let the model create tons and tons and tons of kind of raw content and like kind of artificial content, right? And then the humans would tweak it and make it, make it human, I guess, and meaningful. So, but they're basically using it as data to ingest in some of these models. Complex. I'll just watch the thing. Sorry. Hey, Josh Gold, impressive speaker, the big word.
Yeah.
That was really a really good presentation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very, very, and a lot of good information. I mean, it kind of highlighted for me again how laser focused you have to be on the public sector to really make it a sustainable business. Because what he said, like, I mean, the amount of work that goes into like responding to an RFP, if you're not geared towards that, you're just going to waste your time like doing the occasional public sector RFP. Because I mean, the infrastructure that the big word has created to respond to this, and of course, and also execute, is huge. And when he mentioned that, I mean, you're basically you're committed once you signed the deal. It's public. Is you signed for 2 to 4 years. I mean, you gave the rates, you gave the deliverables. You can't back out of it.
Yeah, you can't be like, oh, sorry. Turns out it was a little bit more expensive than we thought it was going to be. Yeah. And also the upfront, he was sort of saying some of the upfront costs of just the huge, which I think we've spoken about previously, like the huge sort of admin side and legal side, having to print out maybe sometimes thousands of pages for these tender responses and things like that. So the upfront costs, super interesting.
Absolutely. And then we had Francesca from Pinterest, basically one of those stories from like one woman show to like full scalable internationalization operations. Yard Tal from Blend scaling e-commerce content up. Sarkhan from Riot Games kind of recounted quite a personal story of building the localization team. They're working with MemoQ as well. I think MemoQ is really strong in the game lock space. Like very often when I speak to people from game localization, they're using MemoQ. Lots of follow-up coverage coming up. Those, again, who missed it, go to our on-demand Vimeo page, which is well hidden somewhere. But just Google it. You can actually rewatch the whole thing. Those that registered obviously get to watch for free, and the other ones can just, for a small fee, watch the whole thing. Hey, spam. How often have you gotten a CCJK LinkedIn connection request?
I wouldn't know. I do have a lot of people that I connect with thinking, okay, they're in the industry, and then I get, people attempt to sell me translation services. So
that's what I sometimes I can bother to respond, but sometimes like, well, whatever. But CCJK, probably this is like Chinese simplified and traditional Japanese and Korean. Apparently they say they're a translation company in Shenzhen, like southern China, and I get like one request from them like a week, like just some random profile. I don't say person because it's definitely not a person. I think 90% of those requests are like fake profiles.
What makes you think they're fake though?
Oh, they're fake. There was a discussion like a year ago with some others like, hey, this is clearly fake. It's just fake. I mean, these people, I think I had once, I pinged them and asked them, but my point is, no, I 100% sure they're fake. Not all of them. That company probably does exist, but it's probably half the size, or maybe not half the size, maybe a tenth of the size that they're trying to inflate that here. And so if they ping you, CCJK, don't accept, disconnect. If you have them in your network, I just checked. Actually, even though I don't accept them anymore, I've had still 6 connections. So I don't know. I just find it. There's enough spam on LinkedIn, as is. So don't spam me like on purpose, basically. So yeah, CCJK, don't accept that. Very different. This week, Apostroph Group, Swiss, Germany-based LSP. They're quite large. They have like $35 million in 2020 revenue, grew 15% from 2019, according to our LSPI. they got a new boss, Philip Maya, who also, like me, lives in Zurich. And he's now been the CEO of Apostrophe Switzerland for 10 years, and now he's taking on the group CEO-ship. So this is Apostrophe Switzerland was, that company's been around for a fair amount of time, and they were acquired by a German-based private equity firm called ECM in 2016, and then they acquired a bunch of companies, including a couple in Germany, and now they're basically being merged into under one umbrella, one brand, Apostrophe Group. And they did acquire recently a few companies. They got Lopez Ebri, that's already 3 years ago, Burton, Von Irsland Whitney in Munich, then a small one in Switzerland called, let me look that up, USG, and then Global Translations, that was about a year ago. And so, yeah, now they're getting a CEO. And look, this PE firm has been in there since 2016. And as we know, the typical investment horizon is what? 4 to 7 years. So at some point, they'll probably want to exit. So now they're packaging it up. Now, moving on to Cohere. They raised. How much did they raise, Esther?
Yeah, a fair amount of money, $40 million US, for their natural language software. This is an AI startup that has been co-founded by alumni from the University of Toronto in Canada. And their solution or their product is technology that could improve, or they say revolutionize, how humans converse with machines. So one of the use cases...
No less than that.
Revolutionize, yeah.
The way humans converse with machines. That's why do they always need these kind of like world-changing mission statements?
Well, I mean, if you want to get $40 million, you better solve some kind of problem.
But like, which VC would sit there and say, "All right"? I mean, it's obviously like superb hyperbole. Superbly. Sorry, Cohere. Like, why would you say that? Anyway, okay, congrats. You raised $40 million for...
Yeah, sure. We can talk about what it is or what we think it might be. So one of the use cases they give is for use in customer service chatbots. So hence the conversing part of their pitch.
So I want to see that. I just had my phone died. I had to restore my phone, lost 2-factor authentication, everything restored except one tool we're using called Zapier. And I mean, that was quite a complex customer service interaction to unlock that account again. So, and there were about 4 different customer service agents involved, including somebody who actually gave me a call. So I want to see, that being solved by a machine. So, yeah. Okay. I don't really have a point here, Esther. I'm sorry, but it's just like...
I know what you mean. Like sometimes, I mean, customer service complaints or handling can be extremely complex. I mean, I think...
Really complex. And
super complex.
And I've seen this so many times now. It's kind of the fundamental like use case. And $40 million. That's a lot.
But so they say customer service chatbots. So I guess that's kind of like online web stuff. I mean, you also see other startups that are focusing more on kind of like the service desk, the physical sort of, I'm at a hotel, the screen will talk to me and tell me how to check in and wish me a nice day and things like that, which is obviously probably normally a lot more straightforward than, I don't know, somebody complaining about 2-factor authentication not working and trying to actually resolve what it can be quite a complex problem.
And currently, like we did kind of research this a bit. Like it's models. They're saying, fine tune our models with your data and create tailored models, purpose built for your needs. So it seems like it's a repository of different machine learning models. And they say our models gain a rich understanding of language in the world by reading text across billions of web pages. Well, others have done that too. So yeah, let's see if once they're coming out of whatever alpha or beta version they're in, and the 40 million is justified. Because, I mean, if it really is, Esther, at some point they need to get out of that obscurity where people like you and I barely understand what it is. Like, I mean, we are looking at the space quite closely. And like at some point, I would want to see some of these NLP firms really produce something that we can see, like DeepL, for example. I mean, DeepL it's out there. It's people use it every day. Like, are people going to use Cohere every day? And if not, like, how can you justify a $40 million round, which is probably at like a $200 million valuation? So maybe we should get them on the podcast, to be fair. Let's reach out to them.
They can tell us, explain.
All right. Sorry for that little side tangent there. So what about fake interpreters?
Yep, nobody likes a fake interpreter.
Nobody likes a fake interpreter.
But we've had a bit of a saga, I think, in the UK. So it's kind of come to the forefront a few times in the news, where you have sort of instances of people kind of fraudulently trying to make money from being an interpreter where they don't have the right credentials or things like this. So the case that we came across this week was that of a woman from Wakefield, in Yorkshire.
Where's Wakefield?
In Yorkshire.
Is this in the middle of the British Isle?
It's in York, no. So it's north. Yorkshire.
North? Okay.
Yeah. So yes, anyway, this lady from Wakefield, she was cautioned and made to complete a rehabilitation course, having admitted that she committed fraud by representation. So specifically, according to the police, she presented a fake document while she was trying to become registered with the interpreter. And our friends over at The Big Word, apparently, who were involved in this because they identified the document that she was presenting as fake. So she was intending or trying to apply to become an interpreter. Then I think at some point was asked to prove her qualifications or credentials. She provided a certificate. Big Word staff said, no, this is not legit. And yeah, based on their sort of normal security checks. And the police got involved, clearly.
Looks like Joshua has it under control. Helping the police with the fake interpreter. Yeah,
preventing crime, left, right, and
preventing
center.
Crime. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another story out of the UK, a little sadder, and we haven't really spoken about that because it's usually not very public when companies close. But here we have a company that apparently has closed, an LSP that has closed in the UK because of COVID and the impact it had. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, they're closing. So they're remaining open, I think, until the end of September. But this was an announcement 3 weeks ago or so from, like you said, a UK-based LSP called Parallel Translations. So the plan is they're going to close their doors at the end of September. And they've been trading for nearly 25 years. They apparently have already vacated their offices, but they're still operating right now. So they'll probably be winding up projects, still operating in a kind of winding down controlled manner, they said. So completing ongoing work for clients. They'll be invoicing as normal. And then on the translator side as well, they wanted to reassure their linguists that they remain in a good financial position, and that they'll obviously settle any amounts that are owed to translators. But yeah, I mean, their explanation of why they were closing was interesting. I mean, I think saying the effect that COVID has had on our business has been the overriding factor in our decision to cease trading. Our core sector has been hit particularly hard by the postponement and cancellation of clinical trials. So this is interesting because I think early on in the pandemic, we were talking a fair bit about clinical trials being postponed and things like that, and wondering about what knock-on effect that would have on LSPs who operate in life sciences or clinical life sciences. But we haven't really seen any specific examples of companies or LSPs in that space having sort of a real struggle over the year.
Actually the opposite. I mean, I've spoken to a fair amount of like quite life science centric LSPs over the past couple of months, and I mean, many of them have told me great business. I mean, no slowdown. So
exactly.
Well, maybe they were in
quite
some
the opposite.
Sub-niche.
Some exactly. I mean, I would say quite the opposite. Some that have grown sort of like 20-30%, obviously from the smaller ones. But so kind of sad. But I guess you don't know sort of what kind of subsector or sub niche they were exposed to, which I think is what you were saying as well.
very interesting that he wind up the company in a controlled manner as opposed to just shrinking it down brutally.
Sell it.
And sell it. Exactly. Yeah, sell it. I mean, someone would probably want to have those client relationships, right? So I understand if a company basically has like liquidity issues and goes bankrupt. I mean, that's one thing, although that's kind of hard to do with an LSP because you can scale costs up and down quite rapidly. But to like in a controlled way, just ride into the sunset, that's haven't come across that. And then, I mean, they're, kudos to them, and they're very public about it, very, in a diligent way, winding it down. So all the partners.
Well, they also said regarding their staff, the current team, I don't know exactly how big it is or how many employees they have, but they said they're well on their way to fulfilling roles elsewhere. And I have no doubt that their future employers will consider them very fortunate to have them on the team. So I guess anyone looking for project managers, salespeople, professionals, potentially in the life sciences space, maybe have a look at Parallel and some of their staff. Yeah,
I mean, according to our jobs index, there should be roles plenty out there. So.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Good luck to the team. Again, if anybody is hiring, maybe you should. Not maybe. Do check out Parallel Translation's LinkedIn profile and see if there's anybody you want to hire from there. All right. So that was it for the week, and thank you so much again to all the speakers, panelists, sponsors, partners, and participants yesterday at SlaterCon Remote. The next one's going to be in early December. And who knows, maybe we're going to do the hybrid thing. Although the closer it gets, the more I'm like, really? Do I want to book a hotel?
Let's see.
Anyway. All right. Cool.
Thanks, Florian. See ya.
Bye.